Dr. Elias Munro stood outside his research station on the green, glowing world of Vareth. The sky was a soft violet, and the trees swayed gently in the warm wind. He was the only human on the planet. His job was to study the Kailari, a peaceful, alien species who lived in the forests and valleys. They looked delicate and young, almost like human children, but he had learned that their kind aged very slowly. A Kailari could live for hundreds of years. Elias had been here for 6 months, gathering data and observing from a respectful distance. The Kailari didn't use machines. They lived with nature, built homes in giant tree branches, and spoke in a musical language. Most of them stayed away from him. They were shy but polite, except one. Her name was Lorali. She came almost every week, walking quietly through the grass, with a curious smile on her face. At first, Elias thought she was just a child. Her large silver eyes sparkled when she looked at his equipment. She asked questions, simple ones at first, like, "Why do your eyes blink so much?" or "What does your machine do?" Elias always answered kindly. He liked her interest. She reminded him of his younger niece back on Earth. Over time, Lorali's questions grew more complex. She asked about human history, Earth cities, and what stars looked like up close. She wanted to know everything. "You ask a lot of questions," Elias said one day, while sitting under the sun with his tablet. "Aren't you supposed to be in school or something?" Lorali tilted her head. "We do not learn in schools like you do. We learn from our elders and the world around us." Elias smiled. "Well, you've got a good mind. Maybe too good." She looked down for a moment, then said, "Do you think I could visit your world one day?" "My world?" Elias laughed softly. "Earth is far away, Lorali, and not everyone. There is as kind as you think." She nodded. "Still, I want to see it. I want to understand all the stars and all the people." There was a long pause between them. Birds chirped in the trees. Elias studied her face. Even though she looked like a teenager, he knew the Kailari matured differently. She could be 30 or 60 years old, and he would never know. But something about the way she looked at him, hopeful, warm, made him suddenly cautious. "Listen," he said gently, setting down his tablet. "You're smart, and you'll go far, I'm sure. But some things take time. You're still young. Maybe come back when you're older." Lorali blinked. "Come back?" He nodded. "It's just a saying we have. It means maybe later. Not now." She was quiet after that. She stood up slowly, brushing leaves from her robes. "I understand," she said, though her voice was softer than usual. "Hey, it's not a bad thing," Elias added quickly. "You've got all the time in the world. You Kailari live longer than we do, right?" Lorali smiled faintly. "Yes, we do." She turned and walked away through the tall grass, her silver hair catching the light. Elias watched her go, feeling a little guilty, though he wasn't sure why. He didn't mean to hurt her feelings. He just thought it was better to give her space. She was a young alien in a world he didn't fully understand. It wasn't right to become too close. After that day, she never returned. Weeks passed. Then months. The seasons changed. The Kailari still stayed distant, and Lorali was nowhere to be seen. Elias focused on his work. He sent reports to the Terran Science Council and mapped the wildlife of Vareth. He collected samples, recorded Kailari traditions, and kept his schedule. But sometimes, while walking near the trees where she used to sit, he would pause and look around. He never told anyone about her. It didn't seem important. She was just a curious girl from a distant world. A brief part of his time here. A strange memory in a life full of strange places. Eventually, Elias finished his mission and left Vareth behind. He didn't know then that she had taken his words seriously. He didn't know she would return. Years passed quietly for Dr. Elias Munro after he left Vareth. The lush green world with its silent forests and gentle Kailari faded into the background of his busy life. He had become a respected scientist in the Terran Alliance, traveling from one colony to another, studying new planets and meeting new, alien species. His work was important but often lonely. Elias often thought about Lorali, the young Kalari girl who had visited him so many years ago. He remembered her bright eyes and curious questions, but he told himself she was just a child then. "Come back when you're older," he had said. He never expected she would. At the time, the galaxy was mostly peaceful. Human colonies were growing and trade routes stretched between stars. But beneath the calm, whispers of tension began to spread. Some alien empires did not like the Terran Alliance expanding its borders. Small conflicts broke out at the edges of explored space. Elias watched the news reports, uneasy about what might come next. Despite the growing dangers, Elias focused on his scientific work. He led expeditions to newly discovered planets, made friends with alien researchers, and published papers about the strange life forms he encountered. But no other visitor was like Lorali. No other friendship touched him so deeply. His colleagues sometimes asked about his time on Vareth. Elias smiled and told them it was a quiet mission, nothing extraordinary. But in truth, he missed the simple moments. The soft voice of the Kalari girl, the light in her eyes when she learned something new. One evening, as Elias sat alone in his quarters aboard the starship Orion's Edge, he stared at a small photo he kept in his desk drawer. It showed a young girl with silver hair and shining eyes. He had taken it during his last days on Vareth. The memory of her was clear, even after all these years. Maybe I was wrong to send her away, he thought. Maybe she was more ready than I believed. Meanwhile, far from human space, Lorali was growing. Her people had kept watch on her, proud of her curiosity and intelligence. Unlike the slow passage of time on Vareth, she had spent years training with Kalari scholars, learning ancient knowledge and the art of diplomacy. The Kalari were peaceful, but they knew the galaxy was changing. Old threats were rising again, and their quiet world might not stay safe for long. Lorali understood this better than anyone. She had a mission now, not just to explore or learn, but to protect her people and perhaps the humans she once admired. Back on Earth, Elias's career reached new heights. He became a trusted advisor to the Terran Council, helping them make decisions about alliances and defense. The galaxy was no longer quiet. Skirmishes with hostile alien groups grew more frequent. Fear and uncertainty settled in many hearts. Elias found himself wondering if Lorali was still out there somewhere. Had she forgotten him? Had she changed? Or was she preparing for something greater, far beyond what he could imagine? Then one day everything changed. The Orion's Edge received a strange signal, an advanced code from an unknown vessel approaching human space. The message was simple but clear. Request meeting with Dr. Elias Monroe, urgent. The crew was puzzled. No one knew. Ad sent the message. Elias felt a sudden rush of hope and fear. Could it be her? Within days, the alien ship docked at the nearest space station. Elias was asked to meet the visitor personally. When he entered the ship's meeting chamber, he was surprised to see a woman standing before him. Not a child this time, but a tall, graceful Kalari woman, her silver hair flowing behind her like a river of stars. Her eyes were the same bright silver he remembered, but now filled with strength and wisdom. "Dr. Monroe," she said, her voice calm but full of emotion. "I am Lorali." Elias's heart pounded. You came back." She nodded. "I promised I would. You told me to come back when I was older. I have kept that promise." For a long moment they simply looked at each other. The years had changed them both, but the connection remained. Lorali explained why she had returned. Her people had learned of a growing threat, a coalition of alien empires planning to attack human colonies on the outer edges of space. She had spent years preparing, studying both Kalari and human ways, hoping to build a bridge between their peoples. "We must work together," she said quietly. "If we do not, many will suffer." Elias felt a mix of pride and sadness. The curious girl who once asked about Earth's reign was now a leader, strong, brave, and wise beyond his years. He wondered if he had done enough to prepare her for this moment. As they talked, Elias realized that the galaxy was changing faster than he had imagined. The time of peace was ending, and new alliances would be needed to face the coming storm. But most of all, he understood one simple truth. Lorali had come back, and the future would never be the same. The Terran Alliance flagship, Helios Dawn, glided through the endless black of space. Inside its shining halls, Captain Elias Monroe felt a mixture of excitement and worry. The unexpected message from the Kailari woman, Lorali, had shaken the calm order of his life. Elias sat in the ship's conference room, waiting for the alien visitor to arrive. His heart beat faster than usual. Would the Terran Council listen? Would they trust her? The galaxy was full of danger now, and old fears ran deep. Still, Elias hoped that this reunion might bring new hope. The doors slid open and Lorali stepped inside. She was taller than Elias remembered, her silver hair flowing like a comet's tail behind her. Her eyes held the same bright light, but now there was power in her gaze, power born of experience and purpose. "Dr. Monroe," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Thank you for seeing me." Elias stood and bowed his head slightly. "Lorali, it's good to see you again. You have changed, and so has the galaxy." Lorali nodded. "Yes, I have changed because I had to, and the galaxy needs to change too. We face a danger unlike anything before." She explained what she had learned during her years away. Several powerful alien empires had formed a secret alliance. They saw humanity's rapid growth as a threat. Their plan was to strike at the outer colonies and push humans back into the inner systems. Elias listened carefully. His mind raced. The Terran Alliance had some defenses, but nothing prepared for an attack by so many enemies at once. The colonies were scattered, and many were small and poorly defended. "I came to warn you," Lorali said, "but also to offer help. My people, the Kailari, have knowledge and skills that may turn the tide. We were once great strategists and diplomats. We gave up war long ago, but now we must stand with you." The room was silent. Several council members looked skeptical. One older man, Admiral Chen, spoke up. "The Kailari have kept to themselves for centuries. Why should we trust them now? How do we know this is not a trick?" Lorali met his gaze steadily. "I understand your doubts. I would feel the same. But I have no wish to deceive. I only seek peace and survival. For all of us." Elias added, "I know Lorali. I met her years ago when she was just a child. By human standards, she is sincere, and if her people can help, we should listen." The council murmured among themselves. Some were uneasy, others curious. Finally, the council leader, Ambassador Sella, said, "We will hear what the Kailari can offer. This is not a decision we take lightly." Lorali smiled faintly. "Thank you. I will share what I know." Over the following days, Lorali met with military leaders and scientists. She explained Kailari tactics, ways of predicting enemy moves and planning defenses with precision. She shared ancient Kailari diplomacy skills, useful for building alliances with other alien races. Elias watched her work with admiration. She moved with quiet confidence, teaching humans to see old problems in new ways. She was a bridge between worlds, human and Kailari, past and future. But not everyone was convinced. Some officers whispered that relying on the Kailari was risky. The Kailari had not fought wars in centuries. Could they still be strong enough? Lorali knew these doubts would not disappear quickly. Trust must be earned. One afternoon, she asked Elias to accompany her to the training simulators. There, she demonstrated a complex defense strategy. The simulation showed how a small fleet could defend a colony against a much larger force by predicting their moves and acting first. The officers watching gasped. It was unlike any human strategy they had seen. "This is the power of Kailari thought," Lorali said. "War is not only about strength, it is about knowledge, timing, and trust." Elias felt hope stir inside him. Maybe, just maybe, they had a chance. That night, as the Helios Dawn sailed near the edge of explored space, Elias and Lorali stood together on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. "Do you remember when you told me to come back, when I was older?" Lorali asked softly. Elias smiled. "Yes. I didn't think you would." She laughed quietly. "Neither did I, but I kept your words close. They gave me time to grow, to prepare." "And now?" Elias asked. "Now," she said. "I am ready, for whatever comes next." The silence between them was filled with unspoken understanding. Elias realized that the young alien girl who had once asked simple questions was no longer a child. She had become a leader, a protector, and together they would face the future. The galaxy was waiting. The Terran Council chamber was filled with tension. The room was large, with tall windows showing distant stars. Around the circular table sat the most powerful leaders of human space. They had gathered to decide the future of the Terran Alliance, a future that now depended on an unexpected offer. Lorali stood beside Elias Monroe, calm but determined. She had prepared for this moment for years. It was not enough to warn about danger. She had to build trust and hope. Ambassador Sella opened the meeting. "We face a threat from a coalition of alien empires. Their forces are growing and may attack our colonies soon. The Kailari offer their aid. But can we trust them? This is not a simple decision." Elias spoke next, his voice steady. "I have known Lorali since she was a child. She is honest and wise. Her people have skills and knowledge we need. I believe an alliance with the Kailari could save us." A murmur spread through the council. Some members nodded. Others looked skeptical. Admiral Chen stood. "The Kailari have lived in peace for centuries. They abandoned war. Are they ready to fight now? Or will they abandon us when the battle begins?" Lorali met his eyes. "We do not seek war, but we will protect our homes and yours. We have trained for this moment. I am here to lead, with your trust." The council debated for hours. Some feared the unknown. Others saw the chance for a new kind of strength, a partnership between species combining human courage and Kailari wisdom. Finally, Ambassador Sela raised her hand for silence. "We will form an alliance. Lorali will lead a joint council. To plan our defense, we will share resources, technology, and knowledge. The FU tour depends on our unity." A quiet hope filled the room. Outside the council chamber, Elias and Lorali walked together. The city lights of the Terran capital twinkled below like a sea of stars. "Thank you," Elias said softly. "You have changed many minds today." Lorali smiled. "It was not easy. Trust is not given lightly." Elias looked at her. "I see a leader now, not the curious girl I met before." She laughed. "I had to grow. Your words, 'come back when you're older,' gave me time to prepare." Elias nodded. "I never thought you would return, but I am glad you did." Their bond was stronger now, built on respect and shared purpose. The first task of the alliance was to prepare the outer colonies for war. Lorali worked with human commanders to create new defense plans using Kailari tactics. These were not just battles of ships and weapons, but battles of minds. She taught the humans to think differently, to anticipate enemy moves, to strike with precision, and to avoid unnecessary fights. She showed them how to use terrain, weather, and technology in new ways. The Kailari ships were unlike human warships. They moved silently and fast, designed for quick strikes and clever maneuvers. Lorali commanded a small fleet of these ships, training crews from both species. Elias watched the drills with pride. The humans learned quickly, inspired by her calm confidence. But not everyone was happy with the new alliance. Some humans feared the Kailari's influence. Old rivalries and distrust ran deep. There were whispers of sabotage and betrayal. One night, Elias received a secret message, a warning that someone planned to disrupt the alliance from within. He shared the news with Lorali. She was not surprised. "Fear makes people act in strange ways," she said. "We must stay united and strong." Together, they worked to find the source of the threat. It was a delicate mission, requiring both diplomacy and careful investigation. Meanwhile, tensions in the galaxy grew. Reports came of enemy ships gathering near the borders of human space. The war was coming faster than anyone expected. Lorali addressed the joint fleet. "We are not just fighting for survival," she said. "We fight for peace, for our families, and for the future of all species who wish to live free." Her words inspired the crews. The humans and Kailari stood side by side, ready to defend their homes. Elias felt a deep pride. The impossible alliance had become a symbol of hope. It showed that different worlds could come together in the face of danger. As preparations continued, Elias thought back to the first time he met Lorali, the young girl who once asked him to tell her about Earth, about rain, about stars. He realized that sometimes the smallest meetings could change the course of history, and sometimes the words we say, whether kind or cautious, can inspire someone to become more than we ever expected. Lorali had returned, and with her, a new hope for the galaxy. The stars outside the command deck of the Helios Dawn seemed calm, but the tension inside the ship was thick. The warning had come. Enemy forces were moving fast, faster than anyone expected. The coalition of alien empires that Lorali had warned about was ready to attack the outer colonies. Elias Monroe stood beside Lorali as she studied the battle maps. The room was filled with human and Kalari officers, all waiting for orders. The joint fleet was ready, but the enemy's numbers were overwhelming. Lorali's eyes shone with determination. "They will strike at Orion's shard first," she said quietly. "It is a key colony, rich in resources and poorly defended." Elias nodded. "Then we must hold it at all costs." The plan was simple, but risky. The human fleets were outnumbered. They could not win by strength alone. They had to use Kalari tactics. Predict the enemy's moves, strike before they could act, and use the environment to their advantage. The battle began with a flash of light as enemy ships entered the system. The outer colonies trembled as alarms blared and soldiers took their positions. The joint fleet moved swiftly, coordinated by Lorali's commands. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," she ordered. "Use the asteroid belt to hide our smaller ships." The Kalari ships darted between the rocks, their silvery shapes weaving like fish in a stream. Human ships followed, learning to trust her tactics. The enemy fleet was massive but slow to adapt. Lorali had predicted their path, and she used that knowledge to set traps. Suddenly, the joint fleet launched a surprise strike. Using small, fast vessels, they disabled key enemy ships before the larger fleet could react. Explosions lit up the dark space, sending shockwaves through the battle. Elias watched the screens, amazed. "It's working," he said. "Her tactics are turning the tide." But the victory came with a cost. The enemy regrouped quickly and fired back with heavy weapons. Several human and Kalari ships were lost. The colony suffered damage. The battle was far from over. Amid the chaos, Lorali's calm voice gave steady orders. "Focus on defense, protect the colony's core." Her presence inspired the crew. They fought with courage, knowing their lives depended on each other. Elias saw soldiers from different planets working side by side, humans and Kalari, united by a common cause. The impossible alliance was real. Hours passed like minutes. The battle raged until the enemy finally retreated, forced to leave the system. The joint fleet had won the day, but the victory was bittersweet. Elias walked through the ship's medical bay where the injured lay. He saw the faces of young soldiers, tired but proud. He thought of Lorali, who had once been a child, now a leader carrying the weight of many lives. Later, in a quiet moment, Elias and Lorali stood together on the observation deck. The stars were bright, but the silence was heavy. "We did well today," Elias said softly. Lorali nodded. "Yes, but this is only the beginning." Elias looked at her, seeing both strength and sadness. "How do you carry it all?" She smiled faintly. "I do not carry it alone. We carry it together." The battle had changed everything. The galaxy knew that humans and Kalari could stand strong, together. But the war was far from over, and the cost of peace was rising. As they watched the stars, Elias understood one truth clearly. The young alien girl who once asked simple questions had become a beacon of hope in a dark time, and the fight for the future had only just begun. The victory at Orion's Shard brought hope, but it also deepened the dangers ahead. Enemy forces were still gathering, and the galaxy's future seemed uncertain. Lorali knew the war was far from over. To secure lasting peace, she needed to understand more about her own people's past, and how it could help now. One day, Lorali approached Elias with a serious look. "There is an old Kailari ruin," she said, "a place where our ancestors lived and learned. It holds secrets about our history and power, knowledge that might help us." Elias looked surprised. "Why didn't you tell me before?" "I was not ready," she replied quietly. "But now, we need all the strength we can find." Together, they planned a journey to the ancient site, located deep beneath Vareth's surface, hidden under layers of rock and forest. Elias felt a strange mixture of excitement and fear. Returning to the planet where they first met would bring back memories. When their small team arrived, the air was cool and filled with silence. The ruins were vast, covered in glowing symbols and strange carvings. Lorali led the way, her eyes scanning the walls as if reading an old story. As they explored, Elias noticed how much Lorali had changed. She moved with purpose and confidence, but there was also a sadness in her gaze. The ruins reminded her of what had been lost and what might be regained. Suddenly, a hidden door opened, revealing a chamber filled with strange machines and holographic records. Elias stepped forward, amazed by the ancient technology. It was clear that the Kailari had once been much more than peaceful observers. They had been powerful thinkers and warriors. Lorali activated one of the holograms. A glowing figure appeared, a Kailari elder from centuries past. The figure spoke in the old language, but Lorali translated for the others. The elder told of a time when the Kailari used their knowledge to protect not just themselves, but the galaxy. They believed in balance, using strength only when necessary. Elias listened carefully. "So your people were once warriors?" Lorali nodded. "Yes, but they chose peace. They hid their power to avoid war. Now, with the galaxy in danger, we must remember their ways." Their mission was interrupted when they received an urgent message. Lorali had been captured during a diplomatic meeting with a neutral alien race. The enemy had struck again, targeting her to break the alliance. Elias felt a cold wave of fear. Without Lorali, the fragile hope of unity might collapse. Without hesitation, Elias gathered a rescue team. Using the knowledge from the ruins, they followed secret paths and ancient signals that only Kailari could understand. The mission was dangerous. Enemy forces guarded the area, expecting their arrival. Elias led with courage, relying on trust and the skills he had learned from Lorali. When they reached the prison where she was held, Elias saw the toll the capture had taken. Lorali was calm but tired. She smiled weakly when she saw him. "You came," she said softly. "Of course," Elias replied. "I promised I would find you." Together they escaped through hidden tunnels beneath the enemy base. The journey back was tense, but their bond gave them strength. After returning safely to the Helios Dawn, Lorali rested while Elias prepared their next steps. The knowledge from the ruins, combined with their shared experience, gave them new hope. Elias thought about how far they had come, from a curious girl and a cautious scientist to leaders fighting for the galaxy's future. He realized that trust and friendship were the strongest weapons they had. As the stars shone outside the ship's windows, Elias and Lorali looked ahead, ready to face whatever came next. The final battle had come. The galaxy held its breath as the joint Terran Kailari fleet faced the enemy coalition once more. This time, everything was at stake. The survival of the outer colonies and the fragile peace that Lorali and Elias had worked so hard to build depended on their victory. Lorali stood on the command deck of the Helios Dawn, her eyes fixed on the dark stars ahead. Around her, humans and Kalari prepared for battle, united as one force. Elias was beside her, calm and focused, knowing how much this fight meant. "We've come far," Elias said quietly, "but this will be the hardest fight yet." Lorali nodded. "We fight not just for ourselves, but for every life that hopes for peace." As the enemy fleet entered the system, the joint forces moved with precision. Lorali's tactics, combined with human bravery, created a powerful shield around the colonies. Every move was calculated, every decision made with care. The battle was fierce. Explosions lit up space, and ships maneuvered like stars in a deadly dance. Yet through it all, Lorali remained calm, her voice steady as she gave orders. "We hold the line," she commanded. "Protect the colonies. Trust each other." Elias watched as the crews fought with courage and determination. The impossible alliance was more than a strategy. It was hope made real. Hours passed, and slowly the enemy began to falter. The joint fleet's unity and skill were too strong. One by one, enemy ships retreated or were disabled. At last, the coalition signaled surrender. The battle was won. After the fighting ended, the leaders of the Terran Alliance and the Kailari gathered for a meeting unlike any before. The Galactic Assembly, once divided by suspicion and fear, now saw a new path forward. Lorali spoke before the council, her voice clear and strong. "We have faced darkness and danger," she said. "But when we chose to stand together, we found strength beyond any one species. This alliance shows that peace is possible." Elias stood with pride beside her. He remembered the day he told her to come back when she was older. And now, here, she was a symbol of hope for millions. After the meeting, Lorali made a surprising choice. She declined offers of political power and leadership positions. Instead, she chose to become a messenger, a builder of bridges between worlds. "I want to help others understand each other," she explained to Elias. "If we learn from our differences, we can build a future where no one fears the other." Elias smiled. "You've come so far. I'm proud of you." She looked at him with a gentle smile. "And I'm grateful for the words that gave me time to grow." Peace began to spread across the galaxy. The colonies rebuilt and old wounds slowly healed. The Terran Alliance and Kailari remained close allies, sharing knowledge and culture. Elias returned to his research, but now with a new purpose. He wrote books about the importance of trust and friendship between species. He told stories of a young alien girl who came back when she was older and changed everything. Lorali traveled from planet to planet, teaching others about unity and peace. She became a living reminder that even the smallest meeting can change the future. 1. Quiet evening. Elias stood once more on the surface of Verith. The soft violet sky stretched above him, the same as years ago. He thought about the journey, the battles, the losses, and the victories. He closed his eyes and smiled. Sometimes, he realized, the right words at the right time can change lives. The simple advice he gave to a young alien girl had become the seed of hope for an entire galaxy. Lorali had come back, and because she did, the stars seemed a little brighter.